Hi, welcome to Moe-motivation. I'm Karen Moe, and I'm here with Cristina Briseno. And she is an entrepreneur and dabbles in all kinds of giftings, all kinds of things. Pretty much anything you need, you can probably get from her. Yeah. Wellness, just there's a bunch of things.
Yes.
Maybe we should list those
Oh
on
my
some
gosh.
show.
How much time you got?
Yeah, she's busy. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Yes.
for being here. So we're going to talk about trust, and I guess mostly trusting God, right? And trusting He's going to lead us in the right direction. Do you have a story about trust? Do you have something you want to share with us about trust or your walk? We did a journal this morning
Yeah.
in our mission purpose group, and wow, they were asking us questions about trust. Basically, we're trusting God
Right.
for our future.
Right. Which is a scary thing,
Yeah.
right? Because you're relinquishing control over your own life, your own future, all of it. And that can be a little scary to think that you have to trust God and not know his ways, not know how he's going to get you there. And I'm the kind of person where I need to know all the things that have to happen from A to Z. How am I going to get there? What do I have to do? What's the expectation? Because that's how I operate. I'm a planner, and it's scary to think that when you're trusting God, he's taking the wheel.
Yeah.
And you just have to. You don't know what the plan is. You don't know how you're going to get there. You don't know if you're going to get there. And you don't know if you're going to have to take several different detours and what that looks like. And I trust me because I know how I operate and how I am and how I move and how I act in situations, right? When I know what I need to do. But to have to trust somebody else, trust God, that's a scary thing. And it shouldn't be.
I know, right?
It really shouldn't
'Cause
be,
he
right?
loves you. Who loves you more? No one. He wants the best for you. But along that journey of figuring out your purpose in your life and fulfilling your calling, your entrepreneurship, fulfilling, bringing things to people, bringing what they need, health,
Right.
and everything that you bring. Along that, there's going to be some detours.
A lot of detours.
And we just have to trust that this detour is God's directing this, or
Right.
or even if it was a mistake I made, or if I somehow got in a bad situation, He's gonna help me on the right track. He's gonna
Right.
help me back, and so it's trust. It's how do I get to the point where I'm trusting Him no matter what? That I just go, okay, God, you know what? Now what? I think that's it. I have to always be saying, now what?
Yeah.
To Him,
Yes.
not to my friends. Not, now what, Becky?
Right.
It's not on the phone, now what, Becky? It's now what, God?
Right.
Because He'll tell you.
Right.
So maybe when I'm in that detour, I'm not in communication with my dad and ask my father
Right.
and asking him for help in the detour.
Well, and maybe to some degree we call it a detour, but that's exactly the path God has for us, right?
True.
Because when you think about it, a lot of those detours are typically things where you're uncomfortable, where it's scary, where things don't necessarily go quite as you think they're supposed to go in the direction that you're wanting to go. But a lot of those times, that's where you have the most growth. That's where you're learning.
Yes.
And isn't that part of what He wants you to do in life, is to be able to grow? He's trying to pull something out of you in those situations. And so, we might see it as a detour. We might see it as, wait a minute, hold on. I want to go this way. Why are you taking me this way? But maybe this way was is part of the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all just want to go straight to where
Right.
want to the destination.
Yes.
But you know what? Life is a journey, and that journey is what we should be enjoying every day, everything that happens, every encounter, every communication, every time we meet someone, every store, go to Safeway, the person, anybody. that is all part of your journey.
Right.
You know, the car accident, the divorce, the child, the wayward child, the child that, you know, their life was cut short, all kinds of, you know, all of that. We see it as these traumatic events, but it's all part of God just pulling stuff out of us, sanctifying us,
Right.
the process of us growing closer to Him. But I've always said, this is so funny, I've always said, I'll just stay close to you. You don't need to do any of that. Isn't that crazy?
That is funny. That is funny. But I think that when it comes to the trust, you know, I also have to wonder too, because you hear this often where if God were to tell you everything that you would have to go through and everything you would have to endure and everything that He would have you do in order to get you from point A to point Z, you know, would you do it? Would you
Probably
agree
not.
to do it? Right?
Yeah.
Because I think about certain situations in my life and I think, gosh, why did I have to go through all of that? Why did that have to happen? Why is that part of my life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's not what I, in my mind, had ever anticipated for myself. And so it kind of makes you wonder, you know, to get to where I am now, if I knew that I was going to have to go through all of the things that I have gone through that were hard and traumatic, would I say yes? Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll keep moving forward. I think about my life in the last even 6 years and how it's changed and where I'm at in my mental space, where I'm at physically, where I'm at spiritually is night and day from where I was 6 years ago. And a lot of traumatic things have happened. And you would actually think that it would have been the opposite, that I would have been in a really good place 6 years ago. And then all of these things that have happened that I would have probably shifted a 180. But it's actually the opposite. And it's true sometimes. Well, it's always a choice, right? You can either live in the misery and live in that pain, right? Or you can get closer to God through all of those moments. And through all of those moments, He's pulling something out of you. And He's changing you and He's pruning you, right?
Yes. Ouch.
And it's painful.
It is painful.
It's painful,
but you're so much better after. It's when I prune the rose bushes, the blooms that come after are amazing. So same thing. But I hear what you're saying, but I'm just curious, do you want to go into that story a little bit? Would you want to tell us about something traumatic about how you came through that, or share any story?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I could talk about, you know, my father passing away. That was really traumatic. It was an accident and was not expected. I was angry at God for a really, really long time. Because I felt like He stole my dad from me. And that was really painful. But I've finally, 5 years later, it took 5 years. You know, I was finally able to understand.
You know, He has a reason for what He does, and His assignment was completed. You know, He had done what God put Him on earth to do. How amazing is that? He did it so quickly. That's amazing. So it is painful, but you know, we go to God with that, and He gives us strength, and He gives us insight. And you're stronger, and there's so much of Him in you, I'm sure, right?
Oh gosh, I'm very much like my dad.
So
I'm very much like my dad.
He poured into you what He needed, and you received it. You were a great daughter, and He did His assignment.
He did, and I firmly do believe that He was. He really did, and like I said, it took me a little while to come full circle with that and accept that, because I think that was the hardest thing, is accepting that, because, you know, I had heard that from the very beginning. You know, he completed what He was put on this earth for, and I didn't think that. I didn't believe that. You know, for a really long time.
That's hard.
And, you know, just other things. You know, I got married. I got divorced. You know, I lost my home. I did lose my job.
All this happened in the last 5 years?
Yes.
My goodness.
Lost my job and, decided, it was in a crossroads even in my career. I was in corporate finance for 15 years and I hated it. I went to school, went to UC Berkeley, and I got my degree in business administration, and I thought I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. That's what I thought my life was going to be.
Wow.
And I realized I was miserable and so unfulfilled and just unhappy, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Wow.
And I felt really lost, really stuck, and just depressed a lot. And then, lost my job during the pandemic and kind of just said, well, if I keep going back into another, if I just go to another company, it's going to be a lot of the same thing. So I need to figure out what it is that I need to do, because I know I was so uneasy, I was so restless, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to I felt lost. I felt really, really lost because I just didn't know what it was that I was supposed to do. And got divorced. And then 2 years later, I lost my home. So, there was a lot of starting over in the last 5 years. And
look at you now.
yeah.
My goodness.
So
It's almost like you went through this pruning, right?
There's a lot of
God was
pruning,
pulling away some things that you didn't need so you could be who you are. How amazing is that?
And you would think that I would trust him,
Right?
because of all of that, right?
Right?
You would think it would be so easy to say, "Oh yeah,"
But it's not. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say, but it's not.
Yeah.
I have a hard time because even though I feel that way, where it's like, gosh, I know I should trust you more. You've gotten me through so much. You've brought me to this point in my life, and even though it looks different and it wasn't necessarily part of my plan, because I wasn't, my plan, my vision was, to be married, have a family. I'm 43 years old, and that's still something that I very much want. And I thought I was going to be, a CEO of a company. I'm a CEO of my own business, yes, but it looks a lot different than what I had envisioned as I was growing up, and as I was thinking about how do I want my life to be. And but what I can say is that I've never been closer to God than I am now, and I haven't been more guided in my purpose. And I finally have a purpose, and I finally understand what that purpose is in my life right now, because I do believe that my purpose will change and it'll evolve as I go into different phases of my life. But my life looks different, but the way that I feel, the connection that I have with God, I believe it's because of that relationship with God that I am able to be at peace in my life with what has happened in my life and the traumas and so on and so forth. And I'm just still working on the trust.
So am I. I understand. Because it's hard. You feel like, oh my gosh, can I trust him again? I had to go through all of this. He allowed this to happen. But he allowed it for a reason.
Right.
And when I look at it through those eyes, there's something he's doing in us spiritually, in our lives. He's preparing you for your husband. He's preparing the world for you because you have so much to offer. He's starting your business through you, which is just the tip of the iceberg. I know it seems like a lot, but you're here, and this is huge, what's going to come through you. So, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
When you look at it with the exciting eyes, and God can do anything, and he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he's the creator of everything. Everything belongs to him. Everything is his, and that's your dad. You've got the richest dad in the world. He created the universe, placed the star. That's your dad.
Yeah.
And he will take care of you.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Yes.
And then I can't trust him? Oh my goodness. I need to get a hold of myself.
Yeah.
So what does trust look like then? How do we walk that out? What does that look like? So if I'm going through something. I'm in a situation that is not something I wanted to happen, not something I had planned for. What does that look like?
It's being obedient to what he is telling you to do,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's hard and painful.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be because you know or understand why it's happening or why it needs to happen in that moment of time, but it's taking it one day at a time. And even though you may not like it, it's just trusting that what he's asking you to do, that it's going to, that he's with you.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think the biggest, I think my first attempt at trusting God was when I lost my home. I was frantically just doing anything and everything that I could to pay my mortgage and just trying to survive. I was literally in survival mode because I didn't want to lose my home. And, you know, a crack would show up in the wall, and it was like, oh, I'm not going to look at that. I'm just going to pretend like I don't see that because I can't fix it. And, you know, then something else would happen, and it was like, I can't afford to fix that. So it's like, all right. And these were little signs, right? These are God's way of saying, you know, it's not that this cannot be for you. It's just that this is not for you right now. And,
exactly. Not right now.
Right. And I didn't want to listen to that. I just kind of just tried to keep looking straight, try to put the blinders up that I don't see it. If I don't see it, it's not there. I don't have to worry about it, right? And then it got to a point to where I was forced to have to sell my home, and I didn't want to. And that's what I mean when I say I lost my home, because it wasn't my decision.
Right.
It wasn't something that I was like, you know what, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to, you know, see what's next for me. It was a decision where I was forced to have to do it. And I didn't, and I fought it for so long. And I was angry and I was upset and I was scared. And I took a lot of identity in my home.
Yeah.
A lot of identity in home ownership. And I just was so, I didn't want to lose my home. I didn't want to give it up. I wasn't ready. And I felt like it was unfair that I was having to make this decision. And I just was, and I spent every single day crying, every day of that process. And, you know, I did what he told me to do. He said, this is too much for you to handle. Like, let this go. I'm asking you to let this go.
Wow.
Because you need to.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I said, I didn't want to. I was in tears every single day, but I listened and I did what he told me to do. And I just prayed, like, just let this process go as long as I possibly can, so that I can be in this home for as long as I possibly can. But he took the fast road. He took the fast road with me on that. My home wasn't even on the market, and I got an offer for it.
Wow.
And they wanted me out in 15 days. I said, no, we're not doing 15 days.
Wow.
We'll do 30. And it closed very quickly. It just happened so fast, and it was not something that I was prepared for. And, you know, when it was all said and done, you know, it's been a little bit over a year now. It still hurts.
Yeah.
It still does hurt, but it's this weight that's lifted from me as well.
Yes, and he knows.
Right.
He knows you needed that weight lifted.
Yes.
Interesting. So what I've heard then is, when there's a trial and we're being tested and we're going through this detour, or however you want to label it, that every day we're in communication with God constantly. Yes. It's a daily thing, all day long. You're constantly talking to him. Like I talk to you, talking to him. So stay in communication. And then the other thing I think is to get a new mindset about what's happening. You know, I'm going to lose my house, but I'm going to get something better.
Right.
And so if we can see it with a different mindset as a good thing.
Right.
I know it looks horrible, but get a new mindset on it.
Yes.
This was the wrong route for me. There's something better. And when we see that there's something better, that helps us move on. And then the other thing you said, it was be obedient. So I think those are our top three things that we would tell our listeners. We would say, stay in communication with God constantly.
Yeah.
Be obedient to what he's wanting you to do. And look to the other side of that trial.
Yeah.
There is something so great on the other side. Because he's not going to leave you nor forsake you. His word says that.
Right.
He's not going to throw you in the dirt. This is your dad. He owns everything. He could give you everything you want.
Right.
But we have to believe and trust him and walk in it.
Yes.
And we have to say that. You have to speak that over your life. That's what they were doing in the scriptures. When David was living in the cave and Saul was chasing after him, he was saying how that God prepared a table in the presence of his enemies. You're living in a cave, buddy.
Right.
He was calling things as not as though they were. He was saying things, God, I still trust you. God, I know you're going to do something for me. That's the mindset we have to have.
Yeah.
So we have three things during the trial. Speak to him daily.
Yep.
Be in communication with God. See through the other side. There's something better for me. And be obedient. When he tells you to move on, move on.
Yeah.
And receive it as godly correction, and he's putting you in the right place.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I think you summed it all up.
From what, we pulled that together from
Yeah.
us talking. That was good.
Yeah.
So, wow. So we've got something to work on. I know I do, because that does not come natural.
No. And I also think I don't necessarily trust a lot of people easily too.
I don't know. I know.
So
I'm guilty.
Yeah. So it is something that I know that I need to work on, but of the God who has never ever failed us, right?
I know.
He is
Why
the
would
one
we
that
not trust
right.
him?
Why would he not trust? Why would he not trust
people?
him?
I get it.
Right. Oh, every day, but it's you would think that of anyone, it could be him.
I know.
That we could trust.
I know. And that's a whole nother conversation, trusting people. What does that look like? How do you walk through that, Because we have to be in communication with people. It's part of God's plan.
Yeah.
He wants us to do that. He wants us to trust people. And you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to do it again. And you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find the people you can communicate well with.
Right.
You're going to find the people headed in the same direction with you and talk with them and eat with them and break bread with them and do life with them.
Right.
Because you have the same mindset and God has a call on your life, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to build your tribe. Just be careful. Just make,
Right.
So
But I think even through those experiences too, though, you start to learn about yourself.
Yes.
And what it is that is important to you. What do you value? What is it that you're creating boundaries for yourself and, being able to grow in that respect. What are you going to be able to what are you going to tolerate from people?
Yes.
And what are you going to, say, this isn't going to be for me. I'm not going to allow anyone with this kind of a heart to come into my, I've been burned, it's that saying, you what is the saying?
I think once burned or something.
Well, you shame on me, and then if you do it again.
Oh, if you do it again,
shame.
Shame on me if I let you do it to me again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's kind of one of those things where sometimes you have to learn those experiences, right?
It's part of
And then some people don't, but that's like I said, it's another conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. That'll be on another episode.
But trust God. I mean, it's not easy, but it's possible. And I think that, like you said, if we try to instill and practice those things daily and every single time, and I also think to express to him how hard it is.
Yeah. Yes. Be honest.
Yes. And let him know.
And he wants to talk to you. He wants to walk with you. He wants to partner with you and walk through this. Yeah. So, and who better to partner with? Yeah. Right?
There's nobody better.
Man. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting your life, being open with your life and your experiences and like your Life Unscripted podcast. Your life is open, and I love that about you.
Thank you.
I love how free you are to share your emotions and just things you've been with, because it helps people.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about, you know? So
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Karen.
So that's it for us today. Go be amazing and have a great day. We'll see you next time. Thanks.